This is GBPS News with a breaking story. Local man caught cooking meth in the basement belonging to the elderly woman who was struck and killed by a bus earlier this month. This backwoods drug lord goes by the name of Old Willie. Police have yet to report just how big of an operation it was. More details at 10.
Hanging out in Grandma's basement, having fun with all of our friends. You can't spell basement without men, and you gotta keep it down when she's going to bed. Yeah, hanging out in Grandma's basement.
So I wore it when we were on our way to Colorado, and it was in Missouri. We stopped at a Subway, and the dude ringing me up just kind of looks at me. And, he's kind of a stout-looking, Midwesterner, pretty classic, kind of a big kid. And he goes, "Bud Light sucks, huh?" Just go, "Well, yeah, it's pretty bad, man." "So what kind of beer do you like?" I'm like, "Well, I'm really into IPAs now." And he just got this look on his face, and he's just like,
I guess you ain't from around here, boy.
Right? He's just like,
IPA,
you get. And I was just like sitting there thinking to myself, so you what think Bud Light is good beer?
Yeah,
And then, like,
Bud Light is good.
It's not even American anymore.
No,
They're owned by a German company.
right.
It should be better than.
This podcast brought to you by Bud Light.
There are a lot of people though, that
And
think,
LegalZoom.
there's a lot of people that think they
Yeah.
just like cheap beer. Like they like
I know, but
that.
you
I mean-
can get cheap beer that's fucking more disgusting.
True.
And it gets you more
Beast
fucked
Ice.
up.
that's
Ice
right.
House. Steel Reserve.
Right.
But
Colt
if you want to
45.
drink it all day, you got to be. You can't be drinking like Steel Reserve. You can drink.
no.
Billy D.
So-
Williams is
I mean,
back
you
on the
can,
Colt
but
45.
you'd be fucked.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, hey, welcome to Grandma's Basement,
yeah,
everyone.
welcome to Grandma's Basement. We're talking about this disgusting fucking alcohol, right?
My name is
Alcohol
Derek.
is a drug, so
That's Kent.
It is.
Bill,
We're gonna get into that,
CJ,
CJ, but
Evan.
yeah, we're all here, yo.
Hooper
we're all here.
in the corner.
Hooper in the corner with the kittens.
Hooper in the corner with kittens.
Yes.
It's time for a Hooper in the corner. I don't know what that is.
Dude.
So,
yeah,
anyway,
where were you going, Derek?
say-
I want to see where you were going.
topic for today:
Well,
the drugs.
It's somewhat related to the
drugs.
fade-in that we're going to have when Derek edits this from Aft. There's going to be fade-in of us talking about
and it's going to
a
take out
drug.
the part
a drug.
where I
It's
broke
alcohol. But
I ruined our segue into our conversation by just saying alcohol is a drug.
right,
yeah,
no,
perfect.
That's
Edit that out.
actually
True.
a great segue, even though it's not great, but it's great. It's fine. It was a fine segue because I'm doing the same fucking thing right now. So yeah,
Well, and you know what's great about that? Now that I think about it, is as far as drug control and legal drugs, you can have, crappy alcohol, which is legal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can be like, here, drink the worst kind of booze. Like not, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
even I don't know, like what toxins are, or if you compare like what Beast Ice is.
well, that's just the irony of like the whole thing. It's like, I mean, we're going to get on a few topics here, but since we're discussing alcohol, this is a thing that like is culturally accepted in this country. I grew up thinking when you're an adult, this is fucking what you do. Everything. That's why I personally related to so many like social situations and what I do. But it's like when you talk about these drugs, it's like, please chime in. I almost hit my mic over. But
Well, I mean,
you know where I'm going.
I think
Like,
it's really
I wanna
kind of
hear
funny.
Other people's opinions.
Well, I mean, dude, I think it's kind of funny in a really dark way, in the sense that the slogan for pharmaceuticals and the quote unquote safe drugs is "Don't take them if they're not yours."
but
Right? Like, there's the whole thing about like recycling them. Go and clean out your medicine cabinet and bring them to the police or other the pharmaceutical company to just recycle them. That's what they do. But then
Right, they just
it's like
send
what
them
if
back
what if
out.
they had that for like illegal drugs? Hey, you can do them, just don't do other people's.
Right.
Hey, maybe that'd be a
Yeah.
better way to run the alcohol campaigns.
You can only drink what you buy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do.
You can't
but-
pollute the rest of the world with your
Right.
with your crappy
It'd keep people from stealing my beer. Goddamn.
Fleischmann's.
Well, that's how you keep people from stealing your liquor. Just buy really shitty liquor.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Oh, yeah.
or like if you're having a party and somebody shows up with, you've got your top shelf booze, and then somebody shows up with Fleischmann's, we're like, well, that's your fault.
Well, I mean,
It's your fault.
I always just show up with
I'll drink a
absinthe.
Fleischmann's. What?
No one likes black licorice. Show up with absinthe. No one will drink it.
Absinthe? That or Jaeger.
Or Jaeger, or Sambuca, or Wuzo.
Yes.
And other made up words.
Wuzo's
Speaking
not
of
a made-up word. It's a
Jaeger,
Greek liquor.
very interesting thing I heard about that is like when you think about Jaeger bombs and Jägermeister, like there's a handful of people that like it. You know what I mean? Like actually will drink like a shot of Jaeger and be like, oh, I like the taste of that. But for the most part, most people are like think it's nasty and disgusting. But
Come on, Bill. Where are you on?
everyone likes it
Oh,
because of
I-
the experience. You know what I mean? It's like you think of we're out partying. It's or college especially. It's like taking Jaeger bombs. It's like associated with just having fun, staying up and partying. But
Right.
in reality, it's kind of like they're kind of disgusting. It's just marketed. It's the way that
Right.
it's marketed towards
Yeah,
you. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I was one of the few that actually did enjoy it. I think like the taste of it.
I think
Like,
the
it wasn't
bombs are
just-
disgusting. I think Jaeger is okay.
I don't
but
know. I don't do that shit anymore. But I remember when we had our Jaeger parties back in the day with Bill over here, and we'd just drink from the fucking bottle. I hate black licorice, so I had a problem.
Jaeger party.
I'm pretty sure it was something.
Hanging out with dog
Stupid,
fashion
like-
disco.
sounds like the kind of time you'll never remember.
Oh,
And you'll be pretty happy that you don't remember the horrible, horrible things you did.
Yeah.
Oh no, we remembered because we had like 10 million paper cuts on our chests from using the grass as a slip and slide.
Yeah.
Well, it just
Good
sounds
to
like a
know.
fantastic
Ow.
time, though.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun. That's for sure.
Well,
But anyway, so
wait, when's the last time you guys tried like a slip and slide? Because
like
I know a few
real
years ago
slip
I
and
was like,
slide?
all right, there was one, I don't know where it was, and I tried it and I was like, oh my god, this hurts. Like when you're a kid, you're all elastic and you can just
Right.
land on the ground and like slide, but like as an adult, you dive on the ground and it's just
yeah.
the wind gets knocked out of you, your bones.
Well, are you
break.
supposed to flop down, or are you supposed to just like?
It doesn't
glide
matter.
down?
Like you
Really?
can't. Okay, you try gracefully diving down to the ground sometime.
I
like,
mean, I would do it if we had more space.
The ground does
there's
not
no
give.
padding. Exactly.
You have a park right across from the basement, so you could just set up a slip and slide in the park.
Try it out.
Yeah,
Across
go for
the
it.
road.
See how
Yeah,
it
across the
feels.
road.
The government is going to know where I live.
Dude,
CJ, stop describing outside
Sledding
of my house.
hurts.
Well, okay, so drugs.
Yeah.
Well, one interesting thing I would point out about drugs is that you said how they're culturally related. If we look at which drugs our culture has selected as being acceptable, caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol
Right.
are all drugs that are perfectly acceptable for a person working in a factory to use alcohol on the off hours because it increases your productivity or helps deal with the stress of working a repetitive job. That's why it became culturally accepted in a capitalist economy like ours to
And
do
dude,
those drugs.
Speaking of like coffee
well-
as a drug, it's like we're from
Well-
a city that is known for what like established the coffee break in this country.
Yeah.
Like,
The coffee break is actually one of. I mean, like workers didn't really do that. Coffee wasn't really a big thing until companies realized that if they gave employees 5-minute breaks throughout the day to have a cup of coffee, their productivity went up
right.
significantly
You
due
get
to a
more
little
focused and
rush of caffeine.
like yeah, I drink a cup or two in the morning. Whatever we get it for free, and it's like yeah.
Oh no,
I'm
I
ready to
drink
go.
energy drinks because I want to give myself a very obscure form of cancer.
Going back to what you were saying about drinking or alcohol for like factory workers and monotonous jobs, I have to disagree. I feel like it also. I mean, Mad Men was just a show, but think about like there's people that are top notch people or whatever, people at the highest end, CEOs and whatnot. They drink too, just as much. Just it's in a different
Like
way,
alcohol. right? Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
This happened.
I don't know. That just happens.
Must be on drugs.
Well, yeah, I mean, alcohol.
Hey guys, we got a guy.
Alcohol helps you deal with the stresses of your day, and yeah, like Mad Men, dealing with the stress of being a
But
piece of
these
shit
people,
ad executive.
that's the thing I've always wondered. In this fiction, we see these top of the line, the CEOs, the executives. Is that true? Do they really pour
Oh yeah.
sifter
I mean,
of
come into my
fucking
office and
alcohol
they just got like
at
a.
fucking
yeah.
It was
10
it
in the
was
morning,
true
and
in the
they're so
60s.
important and they fucking control the world. So they're just a bunch of drunk people controlling all this.
Well,
Yes,
I'd rather
apparently,
have
though.
them be drunk than on bath salts.
Apparently,
That's all
though,
I'll
you,
say.
You could especially on Fridays,
kick
you would go
back,
out to
eat some
you'd go out to
faces.
lunch and they would start drinking. At lunchtime,
Right,
they'd have
like-
martinis, go back to the office, and be drunk. And it was
Yeah,
like,
a 3 martini lunch. Have you
Yeah,
ever had
but
3
that's-
martinis?
that
I was
freaks me
hammered
out
the
so
last
much.
time I did that. Then again, I followed it up with 3 more, so that might be my fault.
but dude, it's also somebody was telling me they were out with their uncle or whatever. They were on vacation with them, and it was 3:00. They were all golfing in Florida or something, or every day, they're like, oh my god, we gotta go now, and they're like, what? And we're like, we need to get to the either supper club or get home because at 5:00 they drink. That's their cocktail hour every single day. They would not miss it.
It was like
They
going
had to get home
church.
and make their brandy and 7 or whatever.
What?
Yeah, it's and they literally had to they cut their golfing short by a couple holes or whatever. They're
When
like,
did you say this happened?
this was I was talking to this is one of my family members I was talking
Okay.
to, and he was like, they were on vacation.
Do
with
you know
them,
what period of time?
recently.
Oh, really? Recently?
because every day and my grandma had a similar issue. One grandma,
Okay.
where it was just so ingrained in the culture that you had happy hour, or
Right,
you had
that's-
you had a cocktail hour,
And this again, so this all goes back to our culture and how this is just it's so. That's why it's so hard to get off something like that, is because it's just something that is so fucking you should do this. You
Right.
should be doing this in all these situations.
Well, I mean, but part of the reason it got popularized at 5:00 after end of the workday, it's like I was saying, gets rid of your stress from the workday.
Right.
And that's actually been linked to one of the highest causes of alcoholism is drinking every day when you get off of work, even if it's only 1 or 2, because you build up the habit of I'm done with work, it's time to drink. And
Pretty much, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's something. If you don't want to become an alcoholic,
Don't
probably
work.
don't do that. Or don't work, But I mean, in that sense, I think alcohol could be viewed as being, for lack of a better term, an opiate of the masses. It's used to make
Alcohol
your day a
is
little bit
the
easier.
Opiate of the masses.
Well,
that is.
And
I
combined
think
with the
Netflix
actual
is the true opiate of the
masses.
masses, to be honest.
Well, you drink and watch Netflix.
That's called a Good Friday
That's
night.
the-
Netflix
Or
and chill.
Wednesday morning.
No sex here because I'm lonely.
but there is something about the happy hour, you know what I mean? The drink after work, it doesn't necessarily take away anything. It just kind of masks problems, but it does take that edge off if you had a stressful day. And I mean, you can see why it is the way it is.
Well, yeah,
there is a good
Well,
understanding.
You can. One thing that kind of leads to that is again, it goes back to our culture and how this country works. But it's we're forced to work, to live. So it's almost that 8-hour chore. Just relax for a bit right after it's done. It's we don't live in a culture where we go and work and do what we love because we can't. So it leads to these things. It's so important. I've just realized this recently, that you need to fucking do something that makes you feel good at the end of the fucking day, because it leads to other issues.
Sure.
Right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Stress can wear you down. I
And
mean,
stress,
in an actual physical manner. I mean,
Stress
you
is one of
you
the
can
biggest
physically
killers of
suffer
people.
from being stressed. I mean, you get a tight back. Maybe you pull the muscle once and it just never heals because you're never truly relaxed at the end of the day. I mean, it's a really, really big problem.
Stress and anxiety for sure.
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah.
well, anxiety is just the stress of the mind, wearing it down to the point
Right.
that that's all you can do is just be constantly tense.
Right, and
Well,
I
yeah, that-
honestly don't know a single person that doesn't suffer with some level of anxiety anymore. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's really a common affliction. I
Yes.
mean, it's really I don't know if it would be an epidemic. I mean, if you look at the rates of suicides, I mean, they've been getting worse. And now I would even go so far as to say that those same people who normally would have just gone off and killed themselves are now going out and seeing that they can make a bigger impact killing other people. I mean, there's so much mindless violence going on because people are, in a word,
Right.
stressed. I mean, it's really...
That actually, I know it's probably whatever, but that shooting that happened recently, I don't know when this will come out, but that's the perfect example of that. It's instead, I get, yeah, suicide is a rough topic, but he got to the point of where he was looking at social media as he did this. It's like, this is such an outlet. There's so many outlets. We're talking about drugs and alcohol, but attention is becoming a drug as well.
Yeah.
And that's only happened in our generation.
Well, I mean,
It's really
it
weird.
is due to technological interplay with our culture, but with anxiety, as you noted, I mean, what we're doing is at work and in our daily life, we're engaging our fight or flight response little by bit, little throughout the day. When you engage it, have no way to take the pressure off, which in actuality, psychologically, I believe no drug other than maybe diazepam is going to actually take that stress away from the actual fight or flight response. You may feel like it does. Alcohol makes you feel like it does, actually makes it worse. Nicotine,
Right. Oh, for
you
sure.
feel like it does,
Right.
makes it worse.
Well, and we have pharmaceuticals here. That's how they, that's a big way to get rid of the problem, or you know what I mean, or
Well,
Right.
yeah,
Rather than
but I
diagnose
mean,
on the inside, it goes,
it's
all right,
bullshit.
So where
Oh,
we're
yeah.
transitioning here is going from, how alcohol is a legal drug, but now we're getting into how pharmaceuticals are, again, being used to solve these other societal problems. And what's illegal is actually what solves problems. So, again, where you were going with pharmaceuticals, so
Well,
that's where we are.
yeah. Well, I just want to say those. I mean, we don't all have to admit who's ever taken one, but most. I would argue that we could probably find a good percentage of people have taken some sort of anti-anxiety, antidepressant,
Oh, yes.
ADHD medicine at some point, and it's I had tried one at one point, and it was like, oh my god, when you're just trying to get off of the medication, the withdrawal was the worst thing I've ever experienced.
That's what I would point out is, like you said, it's a Band-Aid fix. You can take lorazepam, diazepam, any benzodiazepines that you want. It's not actually going to solve the problem. As someone who has been diagnosed with a clinical disorder along those lines, I never took, excluding one time, those pills to actually deal with the issue, because it doesn't actually deal with the issue. It's a Band-Aid.
Right. No, it is. I'm very against pharmaceuticals in general, unless, I know they work for people, whatever, but I've taken them and they didn't work for me. And I only had to do it once, and it was after I had a panic attack 10 years ago, and I went to the doctor. Do you suffer from anxiety? Here, take these. And I took them for a while. Pills just make me sick, so I just stopped taking them, and it's it didn't work. It made me more anxious. Pharmaceuticals make me anxious, if I have to take them. So... that's probably good for me, so I don't take them. But
Yeah,
but it's not like other things that you can use, right?
Well, I think the real big issue is that it's almost like, the scientists and the doctors who create these things looked at the real world. What we now have are illegal drugs. I mean, the only reason that these things are illegal is because people can walk down the street in some cases and just find it growing somewhere. And I think that's the really key thing, that to me, it makes it, in my mind, safer to take something that's been time and proven and tested, that when you know what you're doing with the proper knowledge, you can go ahead and you can, use things like marijuana or mushrooms, even synthesized substances like LSD and ecstasy. those things, when applied properly in a very, very loving and understanding circumstance, work. Leagues. Universes beyond what anything
Right, and
created by man has.
It's kind of under the radar being proven these
Right,
days because
right.
of our laws, the scheduling and shit.
Exactly.
But we can get to it. But
Well-
once they reschedule these things, they can. That's the thing.
But to
They're
continue,
illegal, so you can't test
to
them.
continue though, like if you know what you're doing with these things, you can use them really well.
Right.
How many of us in this room right now could look at what is in maybe an antipsychotic drug or in, lorazepam, diazepam, all of these other things, unless you've done the research and you actually know what you're doing, like CJ clearly has.
Right.
The thing is, doctor says, take this, it will work. And you say, okay, and then next thing you know, you've got, what is one of those symptoms? I don't know, anal bleeding,
Right.
There's
it's
a list on those things.
Yeah.
I just love those commercials because it's like all beautiful and it's like, oh, fiery asshole, AIDS,
Yeah.
dying roughly 30 times in 3 seconds, but you'll feel fine.
In some extreme cases,
right.
Yeah.
And if you're allergic to this, don't take it.
Right.
But you can only find out if you try it.
One I saw was
doctor.
will turn or some severe cases it may turn your teeth black or something. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was like an acne drug or something, right? Like the,
I don't know what it was. It was just some medication.
Those-
I was like, oh my
those
God.
acne-
There is
those
something
acne
very
drugs have
wrong with
ridiculous.
a drug
Dude,
if
the
it turns
acne
your
drugs
teeth
are
black.
bad.
Yeah, they'll
Really?
you'll get like photosensitive skin, so you go on the sun, you'll just turn red immediately.
Oh my god.
Also, you don't have pimples, which are a perfectly normal human thing to get, especially when you're a teenager and going through the hormone change. We found a market. People found a market and are trying to make money on it. That's the way the system works. You
Funny
find a
how
market.
money controls everything.
Well,
That's
there's
weird.
an interesting point. Some illnesses aren't even considered a medicatable illness until medication is discovered for it. Take herpes, for instance. Up until the medicine for herpes was discovered, no one considered herpes to be a big deal. It was just a thing that happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure, you don't want to have sex with someone on an outbreak, but it's just a thing that happened. We all actually have herpes simplex virus 1, I think,
Right.
if you ever had a cold sore.
thing,
I think only like 0.0001% of the population of the world doesn't have it.
That's weird.
It didn't become a thing until people made a treatment for it. Same thing, halitosis, bad breath.
Oh, yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
become a thing until Listerine started marketing itself as a cure for it.
They made that phrase up too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Because it was like isn't it the same as like a floor cleaner at the time too? And they're like, "Hey, wait, this is safe to put in your mouth."
Well, yeah. I mean, like it's essentially just like washing your mouth with rubbing alcohol. It's a hardcore antiseptic.
Sure.
That really bothers me. They just hijack people's hysteria for profit.
Pretty much.
That's the way it works. You want money, you invest in something. How are you going to make your money back? You're going to do that.
Scare
Well,
people.
Did any? I always wonder this. Like, people's breath must have stunk back in the day.
Oh yeah, hardcore.
But
I mean, like think of all
wasn't
those
Can you
dudes with, like,
imagine people
tobacco
without all
spit
these
running down
drugs
their
and
chin?
deodorant? They probably smelt like shit constantly.
But here's what I wonder though. Like, okay, let's say like medieval times or whatever. Like when there wasn't like tons of sugar and processed stuff. Do you think it's possible that it wasn't actually as bad as now? Maybe.
I mean, entirely possible. Then there's the effect where when you smell one smell over and over again, you eventually no longer smell it. Like you get to a point where you're desensitized to that smell.
Right.
And that's because the molecules that are responsible for the smell fill up the receptors in your nose, and so you stop being able to smell it.
really?
Yeah, so I mean, like
Like a pet. Like yeah, if you go to
Yeah.
someone's house, if I go to your house, I can smell that you have pets.
Yeah.
You know, if you come to my house, you could
Right.
probably smell it.
I mean,
We only have, like, a
that's
little
really
dog,
crazy
but maybe-
because,
I don't know, I'm used
we
to it
have
now.
people over to do this, and it's like my house. All right, doesn't smell all right, but there's things that's like there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to smell that someone else coming from outside, from somewhere else, is going to smell. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's why that happens.
yeah, that's why
Basically,
it happens. I mean, and so if you take a place where everyone's unwashed, everyone's a plebeian, a member of the great unwashed, you don't pick up on that because you smell like shit too.
Oh yeah.
So
that's
like
right.
everyone smells like shit.
That makes
you
sense.
stop realizing
you just
that
adapt to your
surroundings. And that's a adaptation of the human body. So all these perfume products, all this shit is just marketed, and the drugs like Listerine, obviously, are marketed to fix a problem that isn't really a problem. I mean, same thing with ADHD medication for the most part.
Yeah, we'll get to that pretty soon.
Oh man,
Yeah.
ADHD meds. Whew.
Yeah, I think we should. That's going to be a good time to take a break here. I think.
Okay, we can take a little breather.
Yeah,
Come on back.
take a little break because we. And there is Bill with the
sucking
deep
up all our precious
breath.
air.
Yeah.
Hey there.
All right, we'll be right back
All
with
right,
some more
then
Grandma's
we're gonna
Basement. Oh, what?
Here, I believe we're going to hear a word from our sponsor.
Oh,
Legal Zoom.
Legal Zoom.
Not Legal Zoom.
Nope.
Are your kids rowdy, rambunctious, just a downright handful? Then ask your doctor about Discipline. When your child acts up, apply Discipline as needed. Kids won't come when called.
Discipline.
They won't eat their veggies.
Discipline.
Taking the car for a joyride.
Discipline.
Kid keeps sniffing underwear.
Therapy?
Here are some testimonials.
Ever since I've been applying Discipline, everything's gotten a whole hell of a lot better.
My parents gave me discipline, and now I don't eat any more cat poop.
When our nanny started applying discipline to our son, his grades got much better.
Mindlessly listen to your doctor and give your kids Discipline today. Side effects include bruising of the face, neck, back, chest, arms, legs, feet, and tongue, internal bleeding, high blood pressure, night terrors, day terrors, PTSD, pre-TSD, teen pregnancy, death, bleeding of the eyes, and in some rare cases, obedience and hyperactivity.
Discipline.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey,
Who-
thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Hey,
Not
that
you
was a
guys. I was
break.
talking to the
I know
to
that
Radio
was,
Land.
I mean, that was a good.
Dead
Just
studio
commercial
audience.
Just
Oh.
remember to purchase Discipline.
That's right.
Right, remember that.
Discipline.
And also, yes, our studio edit audience is dead. It's
Yes, literally.
I
dead.
killed them.
Okay. So, tell me about your ADHD.
yeah. We since we kind of broke off, or kind of
Tell me about it.
But Evan has been reading, and we were going to transition. This is such a great transition, everybody.
We're just the best at it.
meth gummies.
You're going to read on the show?
Read.
Seinfeld.
No, so I
Go on.
was looking at just pharmaceutical drugs, and I saw this a while back, and it really blew my mind because with everything that's been going on with the legalization of marijuana edibles, yes, people have been sent to the hospital. No deaths. Nobody's, passed away from over ingesting or ingesting any marijuana of any kind. That isn't an issue. However, it does look bad. And of
Right.
course, people getting sent to the hospital always looks bad. But here's the thing. With that happening, and now they're passing laws saying, oh, you can't have edibles that would be appealing to children that are animal-shaped. They look like candy, things like that. I mean, obviously, they have chocolate bars and stuff like that, but that's a much more, I guess, adult oriented candy, whereas your little like Flintstone gummy kind of
See,
deals.
this is the thing. This is the aspect of it's a major issue when it comes to legalization. Like even in our state, like one of their things is like, yeah, we want to push for it, but we need to stop making these things look like candy. And I agree with that.
Right.
I absolutely
Right.
agree with that.
However, now check this out. Gonna blow your mind. They just released basically what would be Adderall, except it's in a chewy gummy candy form.
Cool.
Wow. Regulations,
Perfect
everyone.
for when I need to study.
So the idea is that the drug is called Adzenys, ADZENYS. It's fucking weird.
Adzenys or some-
Adzenys.
Something
I
that
don't know,
sounds like
something like that.
discipline,
Right.
Stupid and weird.
Yeah, just not right. And the thing is that it's like Adderall, a combination of two different types of amphetamines. It's got your dextroamphetamine and then your just regular sort of amphetamine that essentially would be your meth but all of these are only slightly different when it comes down to the molecular level and how they how they actually affect you. But the idea here being, my point really is that nobody has died, and they will openly admit this, from eating marijuana edibles. But it says right here that, there are no protections in place at the federal level to prevent pharmaceutical companies like Neos Therapeutics, which is the company that makes these, from manufacturing these candy-flavored versions of a drug that is known to cause serious harm, including sudden death in children and adults. So the idea here is that we have something that
Sudden
we know
death,
won't kill
everybody.
people, and we're making that shit super... I mean, it's still illegal places, marijuana is, and now we're essentially giving our children candy to not only control them, which I think is fucked up, but
Yes,
to also, I don't know, kill them. I mean,
Yeah.
Bill.
it,
You have a kid.
I do.
You're the one in the kid. What? Like, does this not fuck with your head?
I'd never give my kid any of that crap. They're a kid. They're going to be a kid. I was a kid once. I was a bastard. I was an asshole as a kid.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay, I mean,
I know,
but
but
I
here's
grew
the one
up.
thing I would like to comparing like weed to ADHD medicine. I mean, I see the point that no one died on weed or has OD'd, I guess technically or whatever. But whereas this legal medication, you can just die. But the argument, I mean, they aren't really the same thing. Like you wouldn't use. I mean, maybe some people can use weed to like concentrate or something, but for the most part, you couldn't say like, you know what, let's give a kid marijuana. Like it could stunt their brain development. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it has been shown that there is a level of being a grown adult that your body is then ready for THC. But I think that that's more people looking at the abuse of the substance, whereas, I mean, you look at it when there's a young kid who has maybe like cancer, or they have an affliction or an ailment that, like seizures, for example. And I know that it's not the getting high thing, but that substance is still going to go into their body, and they're no worse off for it. So I think that it all comes down to that control. It all comes down to the application of the substance, the product, whatever you want to call it. But really, it's all about being educated. And the reason that this kind of shit is happening, that we're talking about with these gummies, is because the people aren't educated. They've been so worked up and sensationalized against marijuana when it is not a dangerous substance. Yes, it can be abused, but Jesus Christ, we were just talking about alcohol.
This topic always reminds me of like Dare. In elementary school. I remember
Dare is worthless. It's been proven to be an absolutely worthless cause.
This is the thing about Dare. It's not actually a teaching tool.
No.
It's a fear tool.
Right.
This is what's going to happen to you if you do this. I remember just growing up with this mentality. It's just, it's antithetical to the reality of it. I know people can have problems with these things, but the fear factor of don't do that or you'll turn into this is just...
I thought he was talking about you.
Pointing at CJ while he's speaking.
Don't do this, and don't turn into an Evan. We're pointing here, folks.
Right. I do want to point out, Kent, per usual, has the headphones on the wrong way. I even wrote R and L and giant letters.
I see that now.
But
Anyway,
on the point of what Evan was saying,
Are you on drugs?
there are
I don't
two
do drugs.
separate psychoactives
Drugs
present
do me.
in marijuana, and that's
Yep.
tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, and cannabinol, which is CBD. Now, CBD has been shown to be a medical substance.
Right, it's not
that
psychoactive.
you don't get high off of CBD. It's been shown to regulate anxiety, help with cancer, help with seizures. Now, people are like, oh, my weed with a bunch of THC in it is really good for me. THC is actually not that good for you. It's not bad for you, but it's not that good for you.
Is there a way to... Oh, that would be like everyone's worst nightmare. Like they're like, all right, everyone, weed is legal, but we removed all the THC.
So you just, I mean,
Like,
I would love that
thanks.
because
I
no
know,
more
I mean, I'm
anxiety.
sure.
You just smoke it and you're just like, I have no more anxiety.
Well,
Everything's good.
Right.
I mean, basically what it is when you look at it, the CBDs, they create what is known as the body high.
Oh, okay.
And so when you're looking at a marijuana like the indica strains, that the so-called couch lock,
Into
that
couch. Yeah.
into couch, it's all there. But
That's where my ass
the
sits.
Why do they
idea,
call it indigo when it makes you stay?
I mean, the idea is that that's the aspect of it that your body needs, and when you're looking for a drug for like a real stress relief, the CBDs are what's going to do that. They sometimes will refer to them as like the bedtime, strains,
Okay.
and that's where the sativas would come in on the other half as being a stimulant, almost like a nice cup of coffee, a bit of caffeine,
Right,
going.
like coffee.
And well, I think what needs to be explained though is that this isn't like, you get up in the morning, you sit down to your fucking 4-foot bong, and you rip a massive load. You're not like wake up and hit that dab. You know what I'm saying? That's not. That's not
what people
gonna
do.
Right. That's not what you
either.
want to do if you want to use marijuana functionally. I mean, one of my suggestions that I always tell people when they're starting out is to just get like a one hitter, and you before you leave the house, you maybe take a hit. And you'll notice that if you wait a little while, like a half hour, it'll really kind of set into a nice spot where you're not like tripping balls, man. But
Sure.
you're nice and
Well,
you're
there's-
focused,
that's
and you
the
actually
thing.
feel it as if it were just like applying the other substance that we've been talking about. Like,
how is it any different than an antidepressant? I get it. There's semantics here, but popping an antidepressant when you brush your teeth.
right?
I mean,
I would
I'm
probably
all
brush my
for
teeth and
just
then drink it,
not
do it
wasting
water.
Right.
my
It's-
weed by doing it when I can.
Right.
you know?
It's the
But-
natural alternative to the pharmaceutical drugs. I mean,
Right.
all across, all over the place.
Well,
There's so many different
that's the thing.
applications for it.
Wait, I have to ask real quick. That dab thing, is that the like the super potent THC?
Yeah,
thing?
that's the
okay.
wax.
Wax.
They call it wax.
Wax.
Or shatter or glass, which to
Yeah.
me is just
I
like
don't know.
that's
That-
meth and shit. I don't know what you guys.
I know. I was
That's
saying.
just far too scary for me.
the way I
dude.
say it, and the way I think about doing dabs is you just went from like putting the powder, on like your gums to just smoking the straight rock.
Sure.
I mean, it,
Oh,
like,
right.
You know what I mean?
it's-
Like,
there's a similarity there.
But see,
truly.
I mean, you look at somebody who does the dabbing thing, and it's like you got a blowtorch, and you're heating up this piece of metal, and then you're like, vaporizing this waxy substance, and it's just kind of like, after you've done all of that, you can't move or do anything. I mean, I get it for like, hey, it's a fucking Wednesday and I need to go to bed like right now.
How much more
Dab, and then
potent
you're
is it?
done. I mean, I think
Well, it's
a
just
gram of
concentrate,
wax
right?
takes like 5 grams of flour. I mean, it's concentrated
Wait,
down.
flour?
Insane.
You like cook it up like rock?
Well, no,
Like-
they
Right,
what they
like,
do
that's
is they
baking soda.
chemically separate out the THC from the bud of the marijuana plant, which is a flower, and the herb, as I like to call it, herb man. And what they do is they use the chemical like a bath, and then when it's at a certain point, you extract the chemical out, separate that from the flower, which has now had all of the psychoactive substances removed from it. You then have to go through there are different processes of either cooking or not cooking, but evaporating off
sure.
any of the chemical. And then after that happens, you're left with this waxy resin-like substance. It's almost like honey from the
Sure,
plant.
okay,
But the problem is that if it's not, and now with it being legal, it's regulated, and you don't have to worry about this anymore. But there were times where you would have to worry about that shit exploding because there was still chemical agent in it, which is actually butane.
Okay.
They would use butane, and so you would use the butane gas to separate it all out. They have if you go to a head shop, you can find extractor tools that they have. They're these really wicked looking, 8-inch long pieces of glass blown into glass with metal pieces and stuff on them. It's pretty intense. But to get back to the point though, is that really in a medical sense, that is only for people who really, really need a strong dose of medicine. in my opinion. I think that the common person doing something like dabbing is almost like these pharmaceutical companies making goddamn gummy meth. I mean, it's sort of just a fun way to get high, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, at what point are you now really abusing this substance?
I mean, that's
you know,
that's my I've never experienced wax. It's kind of been one of those things where it's like I have no desire to do it because it does seem weird. Like you're kind of it sounds like it almost goes too far, and I don't apply this product to my life in that fashion.
right. I mean, I don't care if you do it. I'm not saying you're a terrible person for doing it, but I think there is a point where it's like, I mean, I've talked to people who they were like, yeah, man, I had to stop dabbing. I spent like a month on the couch. I mean, they would wake up in the morning, get dabbed out, and then they just spend all day doing nothing. I mean, maybe you get up after a few hours to go grocery shopping or something, but I mean, Jesus, like if all you're doing is going to work and then smoking dabs, that's all you're doing.
It just doesn't seem like a functional thing.
Yeah,
to me.
that seems like heroin. Like like drinking. I mean, there are some people that like to do things in isolation, but like drinking, doing cocaine, smoking weed, like a lot of it's like kind of ritualistic, and people do it with each other, and it's like a social thing.
I will say doing
sometimes
things by yourself is kind of introspective to some degree.
No, I know, and you can
right,
but
yeah.
I feel like that totally like pulls away because I mean, yeah, I have not experienced that, but like I can only imagine. It's not something that you do at a party like, hey, we're all going to dab and then not do anything.
Right,
well, I mean, I know that there is a functional way to do it. I mean, I have smoked a dab before, but the problem is that like the guy gave me a little bit of wax. I looked like he'd just gone into his ear, you know what I mean? Like it was nothing. There was nothing there. But then you see him do it and he scrapes up like this, this pebble of fucking wax. I mean, this large hunk of this stuff. And I mean, like, just the amount of smoke that came out of it, the amount of vapor that he got. And it was just like, yeah, I could see why, maybe if I was to do it, I'd still only smoke it like I smoked a bong. Not in a crazy,
like one kind of little chill hit.
Yeah, you're not
you're not
sitting
going to
here
rip the whole
packing like
fucking thing and go 20 out of 10.
Right, unless you want to just, sit there and do 20 out of 10.
I mean, I will say there are moments in your life that a good 20 out of 10 might be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't get me
very,
wrong.
very
I love to have a good,
positive,
just
but
like sit in the couch and be uncomfortably
not
high
your
night. Those are good nights, but not
level.
every night.
All right, so let's see here. What else we got?
What else? Why are you?
What else we got?
Where
Did you have anything to add?
No.
To
Yes.
dabbing?
I mean, I made hashish once.
Brill cream just to dabble, do
I
ya?
don't know. What's that all about, CJ?
I don't know, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's an alcohol extraction. And then you evaporate the alcohol out of the THC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time.
How's that work?
Chemistry.
I'm
What
not a
you
chemist over
initially do
here.
is you
Science.
decarboxylize the THC molecule, because the reason you can't just... I'm getting a lot of feedback. Is anyone else getting a lot of feedback?
Nope.
No.
Okay,
No.
must just be my headphones.
It's because you're the feedback kid.
Oh yeah.
Is that?
Anyways,
is that an inside
so yeah, you just extract a decarboxylized THC molecule from the substance, evaporate the solvent used to decarboxylize it.
Cool.
You're good.
Did any of you guys watch Breaking Bad?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That was a good movie show.
Good movie show.
Schmoo.
Do you
they,
think
they
that-
really made a good commentary on most of the really hard drugs that are a scourge on our society right
It is
now.
kind of.
I mean,
no, it does bleed into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Actually, like I know it's fictional, but we're talking about because like we talk about Adderall, whatever the fuck. These are amphetamines, right? And the fact that this show was so popular.
Grandma's
Can't
Basement,
play-
podcast he's talking about is popular.
Yep.
And Breaking Bad. Go on.
More
Breaking-
popular than Breaking Bad.
more popular than Breaking
But
Bad.
no, but like
Grandma's
the fact that
Basement
like a
Show.
drug show like that and how it plays into our
Society.
Well, I mean, I think I see where you're going with this.
I'm
where
losing
where
words.
I'm
Sorry.
feeling,
I do that
I
sometimes.
feel like at a certain point there is the And I guess I'm going to kind of get into the whole Illuminati thing. Triangles everywhere. But
I have an eye on
if
my
you think
vagina.
about it, pharmaceutical companies, they have a stake in advertising, and I mean, pharmaceutical companies run very deep. I mean, I would go so far as to say conspiracy theories abound within pharmaceutical companies simply to further their own agendas of making money. What better way to do that than to infiltrate a show kind of like Breaking Bad, where in the end, you trust the guy making the purest methamphetamine. He's a scientist. He would be akin to a doctor. I even remember him saying at a certain point that he didn't want people using other people's meth because his was better, because he knew what was in it. They didn't know.
He was a scientist. He was a chemist.
Yeah, they're doing shake and bakes in the fucking boondocks, you know what I'm saying? Like, compared to what he's doing. And so, I don't know, I get the feeling that there's a certain point where we as a society have embraced the idea that it's okay to take controlled and figuratively, literally controlled substances. But at the same time, even if a doctor, even if a scientist, even if the most brilliant person alive could make the purest, most potent methamphetamine, or, for example, LSD, you don't know what's going to happen to you when you take it. Done. You don't know.
So a lot of, I know a lot of these things becoming legal comes back to government and regulation, and I think that has a lot to do with what you're saying. It's like, whatever, we can go on about government control and whatever, but I would prefer something be legalized and regulated properly, by the way. I know governments can get corrupted. We live in America. Yeah. But I believe it's safer to regulate these things so I know what I'm getting. Again, instead of as long as the right people are doing it. And I know that's
blue meth.
Right, but I think, on top of that, though, is that even with all of the controls in the product and the controls in the substance, there are a lot of factors within your own body, within your own person.
Things do affect you differently.
That can really, really drastically change the effects that they see. That's why they have these just asinine depressants out there, antidepressants, that even within the warnings, it literally says may cause worsening thoughts of suicide. Like, take this drug to get better and you just might end up killing yourself faster. And that to me is like one of the biggest things, where it's like, even with all of the research that they put into this, even with all of the knowledge that goes into making these products, you don't know if they actually have made them properly. They're telling you that they are, and then at the end of the day, you could be that 0.001% that this makes it worse, right? And you didn't see it coming, and then it happens. And I mean, I realize that it might be kind of hypocritical to talk about pharmaceuticals this way, being somebody who really enjoys acid and mushrooms and marijuana being the safest of them all. But at the end of the day, I don't know what I'm putting into my body. But I've done my own research, and I know how to approach it in a way that I won't hurt myself.
Right.
But I think that I am not going to somebody, and I am not saying to you, give me what I need. I'm saying that I am asking, give me what I need, because I know. Whereas you're going to a doctor, and you're going to have them write you a script, and at most, they're just going off of feeling about how much you might need at first. I mean, if anybody has gone to a therapist and been prescribed antidepressants, that's all it is. You sit and you talk to somebody for X amount of time, and then they go, all right, well, you seem to be doing okay with this stuff, but not with this stuff. So that would mean on this spectrum you fall here, so that means you may need this much. But that could be wrong.
Yeah, and there is also, I mean, maybe not always conspiracy, but there's going to be some people that have been, paid by the pharmaceutical company. So they go, oh, yeah, well, you definitely need this because maybe this person.
Well, let's look at veterans and the amount of drugs that and the fact that these veterans die because they are prescribed so many goddamn pills. I mean, we're talking 50, 60, 70, literally hundreds of pills. I mean, AIDS patients have to take upwards of 70 to 80 pills a day. I mean,
That is so much money.
It's so
in
much
a
money,
for-profit
and it's these people are just sacks of meds at a certain point because the doctors can make a shitload of money off of dying social welfare recipients. I mean, it's that simple. Right. I mean, and it's sinister in its own way. I mean, it really is.
But we should mention that there are some people that do benefit, even as something as simple as ADHD or antidepressants. Some people they're like, this is seriously what I need. Like and that might be just the right person that is for their brain chemistry.
Right. Again, the chemistry makes sense in those situations.
Right.
But
it's not a blanket drug.
To be so blind to think that this one molecular whatever the fuck it is, compound is going to affect everyone in a similar way. That's why you have 100 symptoms.
You're right.
Well,
because it works perfectly for a very small group of people, but everyone else, well, they poop their pants.
Right.
Well, it comes to the final thing that we have to, in a psychiatric sense especially, refine causes to prescribe certain medications, in particular antidepressants, anti-anxieties, and ADHD medicines. They're not very refined. So you get people being prescribed antidepressant medicines in an instance where talk therapy would be a lot more effective, or cognitive behavioral therapy, because it would actually fix the underlying issues. Now, in instances where someone is suffering from a chemical imbalance, such as major depression, you do need medication. If you have bipolar disorder, you need medication. If you have schizophrenia, you need medication. But we're getting to a point where we're going to give it to them because they're paying us money. And that also leads to the fact that with antidepressants, we don't actually know the reason that they work. We just know that they do.
Well, depression is such a... I mean, it can come from so many different places. I mean, it's almost... I would say that depression has become like this sort of generation's idea of schizophrenia, where schizophrenia was really bad back in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, there still are schizophrenic homeless people just wandering, across the United States, but I think they've kind of locked that down now by sending them to prison, but that's another topic for another day. But, the idea is that depression, like schizophrenia, is... what is it? You can't... We could sit here and we could talk for half an hour about what each of us thinks depression is, because it's one of those illnesses that is different for every single person. But they've managed to sort of boil it down, kind of work it to the point of saying, well, if you're depressed, then you fit this model, but there's going to be outliers to everything like that, and it makes it so difficult. I think it really comes down to the point where it's like, dude, we need to spend more time with people who are sick, finding out what is actually wrong with them, instead of just trying to cover up symptoms.
Right.
And I mean,
go on. No.
Well, the making money off of it is what really seems to be the biggest issue.
Well, the thing is, when you turn this is the thing.
The thing.
Why I put this in the fucking notes was based off something I saw today, and it's and I've always believed this. Our healthcare industry is not set up to cure us, because guess what? When you cure someone, it drives that customer away. You can't do that. You can't set up a private for-profit business model and cure people.
Right.
There's always going to be something, though. You don't want them to have certain ailments, though. I mean, people are going to have to come back. Like, if you're healthy, just because you're healthy now, doesn't mean you're never going to come back.
I understand what you mean, but yes, but we need to focus on preventative care. And yes, everyone's going to have to go to a doctor at some point.
That's what they're banking. They're not I don't think every hospital has some nefarious thing where they're like, yes,
it's not the hospital, dude. It's the people making money off the fucking.
It's the industry as a whole, as a for-profit healthcare institution.
Right.
It is.
What it comes down to is think about it this way. A friend of mine had a child not too long ago, and so we got the opportunity to go into the room that the mother was staying in, directly post birth, and I made the observation that every single fucking item in that room, down to the chairs and the lamps, had a tag on it. It was a rental receipt. Every single goddamn piece of furniture in that room was rented. And so it's like, okay, so how do doctors make their money then? Not off the patients. They make it off of the advertising, selling the drugs to the patients. To then, I mean, like you gotta, like, it's like I made that realization as I was just standing in this room, and I mean, it was, you could see it on every single, like,
That's
every
so
wall,
weird.
every item, and then you think about maybe there's 1,000 beds in this hospital. I mean, because it was
Yeah.
here in town in Madison, and I know that they've got a pretty extensive,
Now
bed
they know
arrangement.
where we live.
But
Thank you.
hey, Wisconsin,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Could we live
We've got
anywhere
Scott
else?
Walker.
But that's the point that I'm
Wisconsin.
trying. I mean, that's just what I'm trying to say is that it, all of a sudden now we've got these gummy candies, and when parenting, it seems to be such a really big deal these days, doing it right, so to speak, and now you've got this just candy that you can give your kids to make them behave.
Well-
I mean, what kind of like holy grail is that? You know what I mean?
I know.
But isn't that like when you were talking about before? Like it sounded to me like micro-dosing your child,
Right, no,
with
exactly, yeah.
methamphetamines.
That's exactly
Like,
what
that
it
changes
is, though.
their. That is going to eventually fuck them completely. Like it's gonna build up, and there's like I know, yeah, you're keeping them happy, but why don't you talk to your kids and shit?
All
I
right.
don't know.
Well, we gotta move on. We don't have a lot of time left, but do you want to tell your story about your uncle?
Oh yeah,
shit.
yeah. So
we have a story.
yeah, we have a
And now,
story.
story time with CJ the Brave.
Awesome segue. Go
Yeah, my uncle, when he was probably about 23, 24, this must have been back in late 80s, he was out drinking with some friends, and he used to do a lot of drugs. And his friend spiked his drink with a combination of LSD, peyote, and something else. And after that, it triggered latent schizophrenia. And so he was schizophrenic the rest of his life. Probably due to a interaction between all the substances plus latent schizophrenia.
See, because I've always wondered, like, what would happen if someone unknowingly, like, spiked your drink? Like, say you were going to bed and someone put some acid in your water or something, you drank it, and you went to bed, and you just woke up like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you would feel like you're going insane.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt about it. There's no way that you'd wake up and be like,
If you didn't
Yep, I know what's
know
going
what
on.
that feels like, if you
Well,
hadn't
even if you did.
experienced
but even
it,
if you have, like, I
Yeah.
don't think you would you would just wake up and be like,
oh yeah,
okay, I'm having
you would probably think you were dreaming still if you
I mean,
as you
that,
said, went
that
to
would be
bed.
like
Yeah.
a lucid dream.
Yeah, you
I
would
mean,
think
you would maybe it was real. Like that's
But
one
do
other
you-
fucked up thing about
if it
lucid
depending on the
dreams.
dose, like, you could be so out of your mind when you woke up that you might just, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, you might
could-
just think you're dying.
you could
like
kill
honestly,
yourself.
if
You
I
could do something
if I was
insane, you know?
tripping and didn't know that I was tripping, and this actually brings up an instance from the MK Ultra experiments that the CIA did back in the 60s and late 50s. There was they would dose each other with LSD just for shits and giggles. That's kind of how they tested it. And so there's one point where they dosed a guy with LSD. I think it was like 10, 15 times the normal dose, just dropped in his coffee without telling him. Within a week, he either fell or jumped out.
jumped out of a
Yeah,
window.
jumped out of
Yeah.
a window. And his family was never compensated because they never said, "Oh,
It
this
took
is because of this."
they ended up telling
experiment."
him like 20 some years later or
yeah,
something.
what
But they would-
actually happened.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Well,
yeah.
I've
you gotta
got a
everyone.
friend
You
of
should watch
mine-
this documentary on YouTube. What's it? Just
A bad trip at Edgewood.
Bad
It's
Trip
about
at
it's
Edgewood.
about the
It's
experiments
torture,
at the
yeah.
Edgewood Army Arsenal, where they told people who were drafted or enlisted in the military, "Hey, you don't have to go to Vietnam. You could just spend a weekend here, and then we'll give you 3 weeks of leave, which is a shit ton of leave,
No shit.
and all this other good stuff." They take them there. They start injecting them with stuff. There's one story where they injected a guy with a needle, and they go, "Oh yeah, if we give you too much, you might get really sick." the guy got really sick, and they go, "Oh, I guess we gave you too much."
What
We
was-
didn't really know what we were doing.
What's the name of the drug? The beta 3? The something that for 3 days basically makes you like a zombie. What was that?
Oh yeah, I forget, but
That's
that was one of the
crazy.
gases.
That's like one of the that's like the worst drug they ever had or something. Just for like basically makes you like just lethargic. Someone that's like help get you around for like 3 days.
Yeah. They
like-
also
Was that a
It was
drug?
it was all they
I
combined
call
like
that
a
a
bunch
vacation.
of things.
Yeah, they also tested a
Damn.
nerve agent called VX, which is the most deadly nerve agent known to mankind, which means that it interferes with the nerve signals and actually eventually stops the nerve signals from your brainstem to your heart, and you just die. And that's actually what Saddam Hussein used against the Kurds in northern Iraq. They experimented with that at Edgewood Army Arsenal on soldiers without telling them what they were injecting them with or giving them or exposing them to.
It's crazy.
Humans are awesome.
Well, yeah, especially when there's a one world power trying to fight against another world power, and they're willing to do anything to win, which is really what that was.
All right. Well, I mean, since
This
we
is
love
so
to leave you
depressing.
everyone on such a great note here.
Yeah.
I mean, since we solved all the world's problems,
We certainly
Today's
did that here.
podcast.
Derek.
You know
Toxic
what's-
gases.
Do you know what's going to take care of all of these problems?
what?
Discipline.
There's probably going to be.
Discipline.
I do foresee another Discipline commercial in the future.
Well, I mean, they're
Discipline-
one of the greatest
Discipline
sponsors
2.
we've had.
Certainly
yet.
is an effective drug.
Discipline 2.
Discipline
2.0.
Discipline 2, the second coming.
Stop taking Discipline A
So you can
1
take
immediately.
the other discipline.
Take Discipline 2.
We forgot about a couple other side effects. But all right.
All
Well, hey,
right.
good work today,
Peace out.
everyone.
Drugs are fun, and you should do them with friends.
Especially if they're in gummy form.
Yep.
Not the ADHD ones, though.
Just PSA, know what you're taking. Don't take drugs from strangers unless you want to have a really good time.
End it.
Oh, why'd you say that?